Good evening. You are watching the Cheese Room podcast. A warm welcome to everyone this evening, especially the people I've got in this room. So without further ado, let's go around the room and see who we've got tonight. Firstly, the first lady of the Cheese Room, Shan. How are you, Shan? How are you feeling?
Better than I have been recently after a Spurs game. I must say, it's a strange feeling to not lose, isn't it? So,
and well, it is a strange feeling. We're not used to it. Picking up a point away at Everton, not a bad result. But yeah, I'm just happy we didn't lose that one. But we'll come on to that in a minute. HG of the Cheese Room, been to a football match this weekend, haven't you?
Have, yeah. Austria Vienna against Red Bull Salzburg. Got to stand behind one goal with my cheapo, Eco Cup, as John calls them, with the best football player that Austria's ever known. And it was fun. Both teams played a bunch of kids. So it was kind of interesting to see, who's the next Salzburg superstar. And everyone hates Salzburg here. So it was kind of fun to boo against the enemy. But it was fun. And cheap.
Okay, that's why your name's all over it. Is it true that you get money back for those cups?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, if I take it back, then yeah, I'll get money for it. But so if you come over caller, you're going to steal my cup, aren't you?
Is it true? Is it true that you were spotted and had to be kicked out by the cleaners, scurrying for cups?
No, that's what my daughter does, not me. Nothing to do with me.
Good stuff. Good to have you back in the Cheese Room. John, good evening from the South Coast. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thanks, caller. Been working all weekend, so glad for a bit of respite now.
Well, very good. It's always nice to have you back in the Cheese Room. And joining us from parts unknown, Jamie. How are you, sir? It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah, I know.
Got my Tottenham mug. I got my Jimmy Greaves picture there on the wall behind me. Yeah, exciting times. Like Shan said, it's it's start of a bright new era. There's optimism and people full of hope everywhere, which is nice. I can't remember the last time we felt like that.
I think Pochettino was in charge. It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I was quite happy for the day Jose took over, and then it just went slightly downhill after that. Really.
That's because you got interviewed by Sky on that day, caller. That's why.
Get interviewed by Sky. Well, it wasn't Sky; it was Premier League Productions, actually. For a worldwide thing. Right. It was just for I think it's small market, Asia, Australia, and America.
The day after he got appointed.
It was actually I was on a stadium tour.
Oh yeah,
and it was on the day that Poch got sacked, but he hadn't been sacked. So when I came out of the stadium, these reporters were there, and they would just grab me and said, "Can we have a few words?" And I was like, "Yeah, as long as I can talk about the podcast." They were like, "That's fine." They were like, "That's absolutely fine, but it doesn't go out to the UK." I was like, "I'm still going to do it." So yeah, did it, and then literally as we're driving home in the car, Poch got sacked.
Oh man, it was a dark day that.
Wow.
So the joke was that's the last time I'm allowed to visit Tottenham Stadium. But there you go. I've been calling for him to be sacked, dare I say. So, shoot me now. Welcome to everybody and welcome to you at home. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Do leave a comment, leave a super chat. Check out our channel memberships while you're there. And if you're not already a patron, what are you doing? It's good to see several patrons in the chat room. John started off with the Cheese Room as a patron. John, enjoying the benefits of that still?
Absolutely, yeah. We have some great banter, great chat. We've got the Prediction League. We've got a Fantasy League. I had a terrible week in the Prediction League, though. I think most of us did, didn't we? Except Seb, who runs it. That's not dodgy.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a dodgy kind of geezer, to be honest. If you need a TV, you need a washing machine or whatever, just go north of Stoke to the Cheshire borders and Seb's your man. Right, let's crack into it. So the Everton game. Jamie, first off, do you think the fan base were a little bit cocky going into the game?
Yeah, I think we've all kind of felt like that for the last week. It's been surreal. I'm still slightly pinching myself that it's even real that Antonio Conte is our manager. I mean, how did he pull that one off? Just an incredible coup, incredibly exciting. And the game itself, yes, I mean, I know we're going to go into it in detail and sort of analyze it, but it's kind of almost irrelevant to me, yesterday's game. It's more about the bigger picture and where we're going to be in 12 months from now, 18 months from now, and just the potential, because, you know, we've obviously got a few world-class players in that squad as well, but I think it's the potential now for Antonio Conte, one of the world's very best coaches at the very height of his powers, having just won Serie A. He has the potential to improve every single member of that squad. And it'll be somebody that completely surprises us, somebody that we're not necessarily, somebody who might have been written off by Spurs fans already, or somebody who's out of favour at the moment. But, you know, but it could be. I mean, Harry Winks, he could be the man. He could be the Victor Moses of this squad. It could be somebody that has already been written off as somebody completely hopeless, that suddenly, you know, is a crucial member of our quadruple winning squad next season. Who knows? But it's the possibilities are endless, and it's exciting times. I haven't really answered your question at all, have I? But
I'm happy for you to keep talking as much as you like, Jamie. But can you not mention Harry Winks again? Because you know I've got a pincushion of him.
I know it's only Vitesse Arnhem, but his little cameo last Thursday, I thought he looked impressive. And, you know, he could be the guy that it's the tiniest little things in this game. The tiniest little thing can suddenly trigger you to discovering the player that he was 3 or 4 years ago, you know, whether it's just rebuilding his confidence, whether it's having full trust in a formation, trusting the teammates that are alongside him. You know, who knows? It could be Harry Winks. It could be Ryan Sessegnon. It could be Matt Doherty. It could be anybody who suddenly becomes a superstar under Antonio Conte. That's what world-class coaches do. They improve players.
Holly is a friend of the show and will be coming back on soon. She's got her own channel, Holly, so check out Holly's channel if you're looking for some more Spurs content. She is a big Harry Winks fan. It's fair to say she's got a stuffed toy of Harry Winks that sits on her show every week. And
it's got
honestly,
a bag over its head at the minute, hasn't it?
It's got a bag over its head at the moment for bad behaviour. But
come on, we all need to buy into the Winks naissance. It's going to happen.
We do. Harry Winksioni. That's what's going to happen. He's going to turn into some sort of like thoroughbred running that midfield.
Exactly.
So what's happening?
Cool,
We've got to deal with
how many likes for that 3-minute love fest?
People have been on at me, Jamie, to give like a bit of a 3 minutes of the reasons why I love Harry Winks if we get to X amount of likes. Let's say 150 tonight. 150 likes and you get that. And I even wore this top in honour of the good old days at Spurs tonight, because it's 2017 season, which is the last time we were good. I'm pretty sure that the Renaissance is coming. Jamie, just on Conte's appointment, I mean, I know we spoke briefly on it. How do you think we've pulled that off?
I think obviously Fabio Paratici is a big part of it and has that personal relationship with Conte. And there was obviously the approach in the summer, but whether he felt he just left Inter and he wasn't quite ready, he needed a bit of time away from it and just to recharge his batteries a bit. And then it's kind of just, it was the perfect storm. As I tweeted, it was the greatest 3-0 home defeat in history. It just arrived at exactly the right time. And that was the time to get rid of Nuno, and sad to see him go. He's a nice man, but it was an appointment that was destined to go tits up, I think, from the word go, that one. And sure enough, Fabio gets in the blower to Antonio, and the rest is history. But he's obviously been convinced that it's, you know, the club have ambition and want to go places. We all know that Antonio Conte is a man who's not going to sign a contract unless he thinks there's a chance of winning silverware at the club. So that's what gets me excited. And he clearly thinks that there is a lot of talent in that squad who is underperforming at the moment, and he's the man who can maybe unlock that talent.
Yeah, no. Well, let's hope you're right, and let's hope Antonio Conte does the business. Shan, did you expect an unchanged 11 from the Vitesse game? I mean, it was a bit bizarre, really, wasn't it?
Not to me, because I've been saying that's what would happen since my show last week before the Vitesse game. So no, it made sense to me. I said these exact words. I said he's going to pick his 11 for Everton. He's going to see how they go, and then they'll go again on Sunday, and then he can build from there. He's got the international break now, which I think could have come at a good time. He can sort of study, watch previous games, see what those that are left behind in training can do. He's got a decent crop of players there still, so hopefully he can unlock something. He can work on Reguilón's finishing, which I think we can all agree needs a lot of work. But yeah, I think we should come to Gov's super chat because
Gov. So Gov's one of our followers, channel member. Big shout out, Gov. And he said in the show, Jamie, prior to the appointment of Mr. Conte, that he would give $500 to a charity of our choice. So we are going to give it to the Justin Edinburgh Foundation.
Very good.
That's what we're going to do. But God, fair play to you, sir. That's an amazing gesture, and we will make sure that gets passed along.
Can we have another 500 when he gets sacked?
Look, let's not talk about that. Don't ruin the mood, HG.
Or when he leaves for the Italy job, excuse me.
HG, the eternal optimist. Been a Spurs fan for far too long.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing gesture, and we'll make sure that gets
Absolutely.
passed on to Justin Edinburgh Foundation. So thank you, Gov. That is great, and we hope the choice of charity. Everyone can see why we would do that. Lots of people saying well done. So yeah, brilliant. And there you go. Yeah. So yeah, real tragedy what happens to Justin. So hopefully that money can be put to really good use. And Kerry, just to come back on you, HG, he ain't getting sacked. Yeah.
No, because he only got an 18-month contract, so there's no need to sack him.
I found it to extend HG. Come on.
I found it really, really interesting in his post-match press conference that he was talking about being here a lot longer than 18 months, and that's it reminded me almost of what Jose said when he took the job. To be honest, so let's hope it works out.
Let's not compare Conte to Jose. Like, that's just disrespectful, isn't it? To Conte, we all know Jose's washed. Let's be honest. He's proven it at Roma. He's awful.
It's all going wrong at Roma, isn't it, Jamie? I don't know.
It's horrible to see, isn't it?
All I see on his Instagram is pictures of him eating pizza and, with his feet up on trains and stuff like. So yeah, it is a real shame. John, how did you feel the lineup for Everton? Lack of width. Was there enough width in that lineup for yours and HG's liking?
I know HG talked about this on the pod yesterday, didn't he? I think in theory the wing backs works. My only worry was with Lucas and Son. They're playing quite narrow, aren't they, in that front three? And I'd like sometimes them to go a bit wider. I think one of the only crosses I remember from the front three was Kane's to Reggie for that chance he had.
Yeah.
I think the trouble is when you're playing those wing backs, it depends what you're playing against. And Everton literally went to try and press at both our fullbacks, didn't they? Every chance they had. So you need the midfield or the forward players to be a bit more mobile and think about how we can create that width and not just have a single play. You need a bit of an overload at times.
Well, it certainly looked like an issue the whole game, didn't it? There was not a lot of creativity coming from the fullbacks in the end, and the midfield was stifling, to say the least.
You just have to go back to when Chelsea won the league and they played that 3-4-3 system, and it was Pedro and Eden Hazard, and both of those are quite comfortable actually in wide areas. That's the frustrating thing, is that both Son and Lucas are. So it's annoying that they felt like they it's almost like they'd kept that tactic from Nuno and we're just adapting it to by themselves, because we don't want to see that. We want to see attacking play, and when you're just going into the teeth of the defense, you don't often see that. Most clubs aren't good enough to play it nice and neat little triangles through the center of the defense, and Spurs certainly haven't been good enough recently. So it's frustrating because the players are there. We all know that they can do it, but for whatever reason, it hasn't happened yet.
Shan, I'm going to ask you this: do you think PH has lost the prop? Højbjerg, your man, your dreamboat. He does appear to be having a pretty poor season so far, and I thought against Everton he was way off the pace. Is there some sort of problem with Højbjerg right now?
I'm annoyed at Dave for actually aiming this at me because it's really hard. But yeah, he's not been at it this season. And obviously for me, the thing I love most is Spurs. And I wouldn't be surprised. Let's be honest, moving forward, only one of Skip or Højbjerg is going to play, and it will be Skip. It won't be Højbjerg. I think he'll end up being dropped. I think he has completed the most tackles this season so far, but anything else he does, like his passing's off. He's just sort of waving his arms around a lot. I mean, he is a leader in that team, but I think you can have other leaders come out under Conte. I don't think he's the only one. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him dropped.
Do you think?
I really like to stare at him.
Do you think there's an element just because he pretty much played every game last year, didn't he? He didn't really get a break. Even the European games, he came off the bench, and then the Euros. So he hasn't had much of a break. Maybe he's just knackered.
He was knackered for long spells towards the end of last season as well. You could see it.
Yeah,
he was just running on fumes. I think with a lot of players, and I would include Højbjerg in this, it's just a lack of confidence at the moment, and it takes a while to rebuild that. Harry Kane's exactly the same, and Conte is the man to do that. We saw with Denmark in the Euros him playing a more advanced role as well. So I think you can play, and especially if you're, away to Manchester City or something like that, you might see Skip and Højbjerg play together, but maybe Højbjerg is encouraged to sort of push on a bit. And I think Skip is going to be the man for Antonio Conte. Yeah. I think he was absolutely sensational yesterday, and he's got a serious engine, and he's going to be the man to sort of build all the attacks going forward under Conte. I think the two of them still can play together, but it's just finding a role for Højbjerg in the team. And finding that player of this time last year when he was kind of Mourinho's on-field general, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But, he's maybe, as John says, he's just knackered and his confidence is low, and it can be just a tiniest little trigger that suddenly turns a corner again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a good player. He's clearly proven that he's a good player. He's just got to rediscover his form, and I think you're absolutely bob on, Jamie. I think confidence throughout the whole side is everything. Even Kane looks like off the pace, and I don't buy into this that he's not trying business.
No.
I just genuinely think he's out of form and needs a goal desperately, really, goal or two to rediscover that form, and I think that's where the team are at right now. HG, does Skip and Højbjerg work with the three at the back? I know you kind of touched on it, but do you want to elaborate what your thoughts are?
I mean, I've said three at the back for the whole season. I thought Nuno was going to do it, and he never did. Because for the very reason that our midfield isn't necessarily strong enough. And if you had a third centre-back behind them, it would maybe give them a bit more freedom to play Dombele or to play Lo Celso, who are a bit more expressive. Now we've gone, as you said, three centre-backs and the two most defensive midfielders we have. It's no real surprise to me that we're struggling to create things. Yeah. So there are going to be occasions when it will work. We saw, Jose did something similar when he played his, 4-4-0 or whatever it was when Højbjerg and Sissoko were the two that sat deep, and we won a load of games 1-0 just playing counter-attacking football.
Yeah.
There are going to be occasions when we won't have the ball, where we will, have to kind of sit up and soak pressure, and maybe those are the games that are going to play. But we always talked about Skip kind of rotating with Højbjerg anyway at the start of the season. I don't think any of us expected the two of them to play as much as they have, certainly not together. And so we're in a case of, okay, well, I do think three at the back is the way forward. If it ends up being one of them, whether it's Højbjerg or Skip, I despite the fact that Skip is probably playing better, I would still go with Højbjerg because he's got the experience and he's got the leadership that the rest of the team don't really have. It's not as if we're sitting here with 4 or 5 leaders on the pitch going, oh, well, we could probably lose one if he's not playing well. Without Højbjerg, who is it? Who is going to be that person to kind of drive everyone forward? So, look, it's not an easy call because, as Jamie says, a lot of players are out of confidence. But I think just playing three at the back gives us a better chance to succeed. And I mean, I know lots of people thought that yesterday was boring to watch, but I didn't. I thought that Spurs were a lot better yesterday than we'd seen at all this season, including when we beat Man City. I just think as a team, what we were trying to do made sense. We just weren't good enough to do it. Sorry, Jamie.
No, I mean, and I think the other thing about yesterday is Everton just were intent on stifling us from the word go. And you will see against Leeds in a couple of weeks' time, Leeds won't play like that. And you will see a lot more attacking football, especially with a couple of weeks to work with the players who aren't away on international duty as well. But I was just going to add to you about the three at the back. What also really suits the three at the back is that all the fullbacks we have aren't fullbacks. They're wingbacks, aren't they? And whether it's Reguilon or Royale or Sessegnon or, dare I say it, Matt Doherty, they're all wing backs who suit that three at the back system where they can just bomb on down those flanks. They're not fullbacks, any of those four. They're wing backs, and this is the system where I think, sorry, going off of a tangent a bit, but I think Ryan Sessegnon should be a young man who is extremely excited about Antonio Conte coming in, because I think this could be the sort of the system that suits his game best. We might see the talent that we know he's got be unlocked by Conte.
Well, I think we'd all love to see that £25 million worth of it.
Yeah.
At the moment, he's just, like a doorstop, isn't he? He's just not done anything for us so far. Jamie, the question I've got is, can Ben Davies show Victor Moses-like transformation under Conte? I mean, I was nearly sick in my own mouth when I saw him in the starting lineup against Vitesse. And then he was in the starting lineup against Everton. And
do you think he played? Do you think he had a quietly very good game yesterday?
Quietly so.
He had the top stats, didn't he? His stats were the highest. Technically, according to the stats, he was man of the match.
Playing the left side of a back three is his best position. And I think he's the perfect foil for Reguilon as well. He gives defensive cover for Reggie when he's gone on his big, long busting runs down the touchline. There's the occasional ricket in him, but, he's until we sign somebody better on the left side of that defense, he's the best we've got. And I think you're going to see him playing a lot under Conte.
The Welsh Cafu, yeah. Sessignon back in training this week. Shout out Paul.
He is, yeah. He is.
Channel member. Yeah, I mean, there's 93 people watching now. I'm not sure how many likes are up to, but if you want to hear me give a 3-minute, what's the correct word? Eulogy? He's not dead.
He's not dead. Yeah, right.
3-minute speech of absolute love for Harry Winks.
Yeah, I'll eulogise Harry Winks' Tottenham career. If we get up to 100,
his Tottenham career isn't dead, caller.
It is, as far as I'm concerned.
He's gonna. I'm telling you, he's gonna change his name to Winksione, and he's gonna be an absolute beast.
He could change it to Ronaldo, and he would still be shit.
But he's the next Iniesta. What are you on about?
It'd be funny if Pochettino took him to PSG and we got to see exactly what Winks could become under the only manager that seems to rate him. I don't know, but
in fairness, I think Jose rated him a bit at first.
Caller, everybody. That's what I'm trying to say. That it'll be somebody that completely surprises you, comes from left field, who's suddenly the man that transforms under Antonio Conte.
I'll take.
And look how many players that I bet you gave dogs abuse to, like Kieran Trippier or Juan Foyt, who are suddenly now world beaters now that they've left Tottenham.
I love both of them.
Yeah, I bet you didn't love them when they were in a Spurs shirt, though.
I did, honestly. I did.
Oh,
I was saying we should never have sold Trippier. Back me up here, HG. Did I or did I not?
I don't remember. I didn't see it. I'm Arsene Wenger for the night. Look what I just think it's funny that, I wonder what Chelsea fans thought the first time they saw Victor Moses play right wing back. I'm convinced they'd have been like, what? Like, their response would have been similar to ours when we saw Son play left wing back against him. So you just don't know. But it's clear to me that Davies suits this formation. He's the clear favourite to become the new man, the Renaissance man of this Spurs side. But yeah, I think as one of our comments said, I don't know who it was, but someone said that we should be looking to get someone in January, and I would agree with that.
I think there's other positions that are a bigger priority though than that, personally.
No, I don't. I
think you're right. One world-class defender is on the list, but striker is above that for me.
And a CAM.
And then some form of playmaker in the midfield to sort of just make everybody tick.
Massive shout out to Matt Hayes. Massive shout out. I presume you brought this up, HG, so I'll let you go for it.
This is the comment I saw. I don't watch much of Bastoni, but I know he's out of contract next summer, so you might be able to get him somewhat cheap. I just think that when you look at our squad and the players that probably aren't going to play that often or may not play that often but have value, there's a couple of centre backs in there. So if you could sell Paul Muir's favourite, Joe Rodon. If you could sell Joe Rodon, because he doesn't play for Spurs, whether right or wrong, he doesn't. So if you get him out the club, sell him to Brighton. Was he 24 now? I don't know.
He's 21, isn't he?
No, I think he's 24. Yeah, I just think sell him to Brighton
right now. He's googling.
Graham, 22nd of October.
24.
24.
It's my mum's birthday.
I hate being wrong.
So I know it. But look. The point being is that Graham Potter gave him his debut at Swansea. Potter knows him the best. They sold Ben White. They got a buttload of money for Ben White. Let's take most of that money. We'll do it like an Andy Carroll, Fernando Torres thing where, you sold him for 50, we'll take 35. They can have Joe Rodon, and then we can use that money to go and get perhaps the positions we do need more. I mean, I'm not saying we don't need them, but we've got to think about what we have and what we can get rid of, and whether it's Davinson Sanchez or Rodon or Doherty or some of those players that might be really on the outs. Why not try and do that if we can?
Well, Brendan's saying I was okay with selling Trippier if we had a replacement. See, I was okay with Trippier. I'll take that. Lots of people, again, shouting up like Seb, playmaker is the priority. Jamie, if you had the war chest of the alleged war chest that we're sitting on, all 50 million quid and a packet of M&Ms of it, who would you go out and sign?
In terms of a playmaker?
Yeah, in terms of position, I guess.
I tweeted this last week. I think with the caveat that I've already said a number of times now that every player can be improved and we don't know who suddenly is going to, emerge as the next Victor Moses under Antonio Conte. Having said that, I think the three priorities in order are: number one, another striker; number two, a world-class central defender, ideally a left-footed one; and then number three, a playmaker. And a playmaker one, I think, can probably wait until the end of the season. In January, I'd love to see a striker and another defender come in. I think we all know, everyone will agree here, that Christian Romero is an absolute Rolls Royce, and he's going to be the man to build that back three around. But it's who are going to be the other side of him. And I think Davinson Sanchez has the potential to really blossom in a back three when he knows he's got the security of Romero alongside him. Eric Dyer, I don't know. Ben Davies is his man at the moment. As HG says, he could be the Renaissance man under Conte. We'll see. I still, even though he's just turned 24, I still think Joe Rodon has so much potential, but we haven't seen it yet in a Tottenham shirt. That's the disappointing thing. And then you got Tanganga as well, who can play on the sort of the right side of a back three or the left side of a back three. Who knows? We still don't really know his position either. So there's a lot there. But I think one genuinely world-class, proven central defender, ideally a left-footed one, is the number two priority after a striker.
Yeah, okay. What do we think about Brian Hill in the number 10 HG? Do you think that you could pull that off?
No, because I don't want him playing centrally because he's got lots of pace. So like he could do it. I've no doubt he could do it, but he does seem very one-footed. And maybe in the 10 role, you want someone who at least gives the impression that he can kick with both feet. And he's still so young. I mean, he's only 20. I think we'd be asking a lot of him to come in and do that. So it's definitely possible, but I wouldn't be wanting him to do that. I'd be, of all of the players that we have that could possibly be that person, I would probably go with Bergwijn. But even then, that's a stretch. But I think Bergwijn may have the quality to I certainly remember one cross. This sounds crazy, but this is where we're at right now. I do remember one cross for a Kane header at Newcastle where he just looked up and put it exactly where he wanted to. I think he's got it in him, but like most of our attacking midfielders, he can't stay fit, and we can't really decide what we want to do with him. But I think of all of our options, Bergwijn is the closest to a 10 that we have.
Well, we'll come on to transfers maybe just shortly. Let's just wrap up the game. Shan, was it a penalty, first of all? Shan, are you with me?
I didn't really see it because our sick weren't great at that point. I don't think so. I think if it was, it would have been picked up by VAR.
You are literally on the fence there, more so than normal. John, I'll come to you. Did you see it, or were you Arsene Wenger as well?
I did see it, and it wasn't a penalty because Hugo got the tiniest little touch with his hand.
Yeah.
However, I do think they were unlucky that Richarlison was about to try and have a shot at an open goal pretty much when the ref pointed to the penalty spot. And maybe they need to let it run a bit longer.
Yeah. That's a fair point. I said on the podcast last night, which, by the way, is available Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Very good show. Myself, Franco, and HG recorded that last night, so do give it a listen. I said on the show last night, I was amazed it went to VAR, if I'm being really honest, because you could, from the referee who was positioned behind the incident, you could quite clearly see the ball nearly went off at a right angle from Luis. So unless the question was, did he get the ball after the player? It seemed to me that it was never going to be a pen and was not awarded.
I'm laughing at Matt Hayes' comment there because I did see Rafa Benitez's comment after the match when he said, well, if it had been in the middle of the pitch, it would have been a foul. It's like, well, yeah, if the goalkeeper suddenly comes tearing out of his goal and makes a sprawling save with his hands in the middle of the pitch, it's probably a sending off as well, actually, Rafa.
Yeah. Rafa's losing the plot, isn't he? He's losing it. He's past his sell-by date. Is the Spanish waiter? HG, do you think Royal and Reguilon have the potential to be proper Conte wingbacks and chip in with goals? Reguilon especially is an interesting one. I saw a few bits in the comments earlier. I can't remember who it was, but someone referenced he's showing a bit of a lack of quality at the moment. He's quite raw still, isn't he? I mean, they both are. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the question, yes, is the simple answer. Yes, I think they can. They're not the type of fullbacks or wingbacks where you think they don't look massively composed. You know, Royal is one of those players who's quite tall and always looks a bit unsure as to where the ball actually is. Reguilon seems to be a bit better on the ball, but Reguilon does everything at 110 miles an hour, and he doesn't need to sometimes. So it's that they definitely have the potential. I think that with the interside that Conte had last year, it was usually Hakimi. I think the right wing back that did most of the goals, that scored most of the goals, whereas the left-sided player was a bit more defensive. So it may only need to be one of them that really does it. But if I was going to pick one of those two, I think Reguilon is better on the ball, and so will make better decisions if he gets in front of goal. But I mean, he almost scored yesterday, didn't he? Because it Ben Godfrey got his head in front of the shot. So
I'm just coming to this, Jamie. He missed probably the best chance of the game, apart from the one that hit the post with that beautiful ball over from Harry Kane, which is a wonderful contribution. By the way, there's 144 people watching, only 45 likes, so please do smash that like button. Jamie, Reguilon should have done better with that chance, shouldn't he?
And it's becoming a bit of a theme for me with Reguilon as well. I love the guy, and I think he's got so much potential. As HG says, he does everything at 110 miles per hour, and Conte needs to maybe just calm him down a bit. But it's becoming a bit of a theme. I remember the home game against Fulham last season. He had a great chance and blazed it over the bar from the middle of the goal. There's a couple of times this season against Chelsea in the first half. He was kind of through on goal, and you think, just back yourself, pin your ears back, go for it, and have a shot. But he tried to square it, and the chance was gone. And it happened against Newcastle as well, I think, where he had a chance where if he just backed himself, he had a great chance of scoring. And then Harry puts it in the plate for him. Okay, it was a difficult chance. He was having to take it on the stretch, but that was the best chance of the game. And it's maybe one of those things where he just needs to get that first goal in a Spurs shirt, and that will give him the confidence in front of goal. But when he first played for us, I thought, here's a fullback who's going to pitch in with lots of goals, and he still hasn't had a single goal for us yet, and that's a little bit of a concern. But Don Antonio is the man to turn all that around. Do not worry.
Don Antonio, yeah. Shan, do you think Lucas or Bergwijn have a shout for right wing back? I mean, I'm quite happy, to be honest, with Royale at the moment. But do you know, obviously you touched on Moses. What do you think? Do you think they could slot in there?
No. Lucas, I don't think will last much longer because of his Barney with Sonny, and he was obviously taken off. Conte ain't going to have that. So. Yeah, I think there was a crazy stat that in all the times they've played together, they've assisted each other 5 times. That I think that shows they don't really play very well together. Yeah.
So Chen, what Barney? Because I don't know anything about this. What argument did they have?
I think there was Moura could have basically squared Sonny away, and he didn't. He went himself. And so they stood and had a Barney in the middle of the pitch. Okay. Similar to the one Sonny had with Harry Kane for a week, actually. But yeah, no. Basically, Moura could have squared. This ties into what Conte was saying about decision making. We all know Lucas's decision making isn't very good, and he's 29 years old. If we're gonna mold someone into a Conte player, I think he'd rather focus on the future, as you always say, HG, than what should be the past. I can see Moura going in January or in the summer. I don't think he'll be at Spurs for much longer. And I like Lucas, but I would rather focus on Emerson, even see Bergwijn at right wing back rather than Lucas, because I think Bergwijn will work hard defensively as well. And he has got a good cross on him. So I
mean, Lucas has been playing well this season, though. To be fair, he's been one of the better performers. No, you don't agree with that, HG?
You know how I feel about Lucas. Everyone knows how I feel about Lucas. He's good for 10 minutes once every 10 games, and that's about it. It's time to go. At the risk of sounding like someone else. I don't know. Obviously he loves the club. Obviously he loves his job, and he's a nice guy and all the rest of it. But we've got better options. What I would say about the age thing is that although the club, I always said that Spurs should go a bit younger, Antonio Conte doesn't. He likes to get players who are in their early to mid-30s, because if he knows they can do a job for him, even if it's just for that season, he'll bring them in. Ashley Young did it, and there are other ones. Right? Alexis Sanchez has done it. So you might see someone in their mid-30s come and do it. But yeah, maybe I am harsh, Matt. But I've moved on from Amsterdam, and so many Spurs fans haven't.
What happened in Amsterdam, HG? Is there a story there?
Well, I know Franco went over and then flew back before the game started. But no, it just I like him. For 10 minutes he can be good, but let's make it the last 10 minutes and not wait 80 minutes for the 10 minutes to happen.
Yeah, okay. Jamie, the Celso hitting the post. It wasn't a shot on target, but it was a shot. They don't count if you hit the post on target, but it was pretty close, wasn't it? That's probably our first shot on target since record.
Yeah, it doesn't count as a shot on target.
I mean, it was a good effort. GLC. Yeah.
Before the seconds before the world's worst corner as well.
Oh, it was awful, wasn't it? It really was. I tweeted something today.
Not only did it not beat the first man, but it bounced 3 times before it got to the first man.
It's like playing golf and hitting a Sally Gunnell shot.
Yeah.
Where do you see GLC's future away from Spurs? Because there's a lot of people sort of that want him out. I'm not one of them, by the way. I quite like the guy, but he's flattered to deceive, hasn't he? He's never really got going for us. He seems to have enormous talent and plays well for Argentina, but it just hasn't happened in the Spurs shirt. Where are you at with GLC?
He's a bit of a conundrum for me in that he obviously does play extremely well for Argentina. And if we could get the Argentina version of Giovanni Lo Celso, then hooray. But there's a few players who I would bracket together, Lo Celso, Ndombele, Dele, who I think under Antonio Conte, it's going to go one of two ways. They're either suddenly going to be unlocked, their potential, and we're going to see a complete transformation in them, or they're going to get left by the wayside and be moved on. Ndombele, I'm actually really excited about under Conte. I think we could now finally see the ability we know he's got. Lo Celso, I'm so desperate for him to work at Spurs because I think there's a player there, but we just haven't seen it consistently at all really yet. And he's just so frustrating because there is ability there, but we never see it for any sort of prolonged period of time. If we can get the Argentina, if Antonio Conte can find the Argentinian version of Giovanni Lo Celso, then whoop-de-doo. But we haven't seen that yet.
Would you slot him in for Skip or Højbjerg? So Skip's suspended, isn't he, for our game against Leeds? So Højbjerg's pretty much got to play, I would imagine, as the holding midfielder. Would you put him into the midfield, or would you put Dembele in there?
Bring Harry Winks in.
No, come on. Sensible answers only, please, Jamie.
I would play a 3-4-1-2 with Winks alongside Højbjerg and Ndombele in front of the pair of them, and then Sonny and Kane up top is what I would do. And I'm being genuinely serious.
I'm sure you're just trying to wind me up.
I'd do exactly the same. Harry Winks definitely trying to run forward. Come on. He's a changed fan caller.
We should definitely expect that Højbjerg gets injured playing for Denmark, and that there we are in the Leeds game thinking we've now got to find a 2 or 3 out of what we've got, because that would be very Spurs. But it's a chance for us to see exactly what people are going to do in that kind of system. I do think it should be 3-5-2. If we've got 3 central midfielders, one sits, the other 2 can pretty much do whatever they want as long as they do a bit of both, and see what happens. Whether it is someone like Brian if he's fit, or someone like Bergwijn who can do that. I think we've got spaces in Conte's best 11 or the system he wants to play that a number of players could really kind of take as their own if they want to. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, Winks isn't out of things, as much as I tend to agree with Caller that I don't think he suits a Conte system in any way, shape or form.
He just doesn't suit the Premier League in any way, shape, or form. You know,
No, that's not true because he did it for Spurs already. Okay, so he does suit it,
Barely.
but it's not about formations. It's about the type of player they are. You look at Harry Winks. What does he do well? Right, he recycles the ball well, but he doesn't really tackle. He doesn't really pass. He doesn't really run with the ball. He can, but he hasn't done it for so long that we've kind of forgotten. He can't beat a player in midfield. So, like, if you dominate, he'll be good. But if you don't, then and Spurs aren't good enough to dominate many teams right now, then he's going to struggle. And that's the issue. And you say that about a lot of players, but the system does depend a lot. And looking at Conte and what he's done, I don't know. You know, if it's the 3-4-3 from Chelsea, well, he's not Matic and he's not Kante, so that's out. And if it's the 3-5-2 in Inter, is he going to sit and spray passes like Pirlo did at Juventus for Conte? No. So what is he? And that I just don't know. So like others, he could adapt and become that person, but based on what we've seen, I'm not sure. You know, I don't see him being the goal-scoring box-to-box midfielder that he might need to be.
I mean, if you want to know what I think Winks is, it's Deadwood.
Come on, no. But this is the thing. Like, it's reported that Conte actually wants to move to play with the 1 and then the 2 up top. So if you're going to play with the 4 and you're going to play with the 4 with the wing backs, then the 1 and then the 2 up top, there's no reason why Harry Winks can't do well in that system.
Yeah, there is. He's
No.
Harry Winks.
Yeah, you're a horrible man.
He's not a horrible man. I'm just an honest man. He's not at the level.
Have some belief. Have some faith.
I've got faith.
We haven't heard from John. I want to hear from John. We haven't heard John speak in about 20 minutes.
John, back me up. Harry Winks.
Harry
Winks. Harry Winks hasn't been the same since that injury at Burnley, has he? Since he did his ankle. What was that? 4 years ago, 2017. But he started.
This shirt was in vogue.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably wearing that shirt. Oh no, that Burnley would have been white. He started regressing under Poch. As soon as Jose came in, he got scared, didn't want to give the ball away, and he just passed the ball backwards every time, didn't he? Jamie's absolutely right. There was a very positive 20 minutes on Thursday night, even though it was against 9 men. He did help keep the ball, as did Ndombele. Only time's going to tell. Can Conte unlock that player we thought we saw when we played against Madrid, home and away? Or is he going to be cool as Deadwood?
The latter. Look, I want him to do well. But
you do. You want him sold.
You want him to do well.
On his face every game, just so you can laugh at the poor boy. Look at his cute face with his little freckles. Old ladies love Harry Winks. Give the old ladies what they want.
No,
I think.
no, sorry,
I'm interested. I know we're saying about playing the 2 and the 1 in midfield. What about a 3-5-2? So we play 3 across the middle, but then the midfielders either side of the central pivot man can go up and down, can be 8s.
Yeah,
and then we play Son and Kane up front.
Yeah,
because then playing the 3 in the midfield, the person on the right will help Emerson, the person on the left will help Reggie, and then you can have those overloads.
I mean, as long as Harry Winks isn't in that midfield, I'm happy. He's not the required standard. That's the issue. He's not good enough for an elite club, and this is the problem. So I'm fully behind. Yeah, there'll be a couple of people that you don't expect to come through. Winks isn't going to be one of them. I'll tell you that now. He's not good enough. He is just not good enough footballer. His progression is not good enough. He is a very poor man's Scott Parker, in that he can win the ball, do 180s continuously on the spot, but his distribution is lacking. His vision is lacking. He can't carry the ball. I think HGU summarised it quite nicely. He doesn't do anything really well.
Because I agree with you. Look,
he does lots of good little bits of work here and there, but he's not the kind of player that you'd want to finish top 4, and to challenge for honours at the end of the day. And that's my issue with Harry Winks. It's not that I dislike him as a person. I don't dislike anyone. I just purely don't believe he's good enough.
I think people, even when Poch was here and we were really good, it's only really that season when others were injured, where Winks and Sissoko became our midfield and we got to the Champions League final, that he was irregular. I don't remember him being a regular before that. And so even in the Poch system, where we used to have a Wanyama or a Dembele or both, or some kind of defensive midfielder that would help Winks out in that area, then we were fine and we were on the front foot for most of the game. Now that we're not as strong as a team, being just a recycler, even if you are a good one, isn't enough. And Skip has shown that he can do that recycling and he's better defensively. The couple of runs that Skip had in yesterday's game where he was running forward with the ball from midfield towards the end of the game, he didn't look any worse than what Winks was doing in those occasions. So I just think Skip is a better player and that pushes Winks further down the pecking order.
I would also add to that. Sorry, HT, to interrupt. I was just going to say, I would also add to that if you speak to any Norwich fans, they'll tell you that actually Skip's distribution is pretty impressive as well. He can spray some fantastic passes. I'm really excited about it. I think that the ceiling for him is massive. And I think Conte's going to absolutely adore him. I think he's going to be, as I said, the man he builds this side around.
Frank Kessie, where does he fit into this jigsaw puzzle? It's been reported that he's agreed a contract with Spurs. I mean that's you take it. These rumours always do the rounds, but he's certainly a player we've been sniffing around in the last transfer window, and it looks like we're going back again potentially in January. Where does he fit into the mix, HG, do you think?
Well, don't watch the highlights from yesterday's Milan derby because he gave away a penalty. He's a defensive midfielder, I think, first and foremost, but he scored 10, 11 goals in Serie A last year, so he obviously can get forward and knows where the back of the net is. I don't know how many of those were penalties, but I'm assuming not too many. So to me, he's probably going to be a kind of, similar to Højbjerg a little bit, where he can be the defensive guy, or he can be a box-to-box with an engine, an old-school Roy Keane type player. I don't really know, but I think the fact that he's on a free means that it's a good purchase for Spurs. I think he turns 25 next month. It's a free transfer. If it doesn't work out, no one really loses. So I think it's a good deal for Spurs if we can get it. But let's face it, a week ago he wouldn't have considered Spurs, and now we've got Conte in. I think a lot of players are going to be thinking that's not a bad place to go for the next couple of years, whatever. We've also got the young French kid who could also be that guy as well. And I noticed that he didn't start yesterday's game for Metz. I've said this before on the pod. If we can, maybe bring him back in January so he gets 6 months to get used to what Conte wants. Because we know that the whole team now need to know this. So why not bring him back? But for me, Kessie is probably similar to Højbjerg, but a bit more mobile.
This is the thing for me. So these are the players we're talking about are better players than Winks, and that's what we should aspire to. A better. I'm just reinforcing my point really that I think we need a better quality of player in midfield, and if we get Kessie, and obviously we've got this kid on who's I've seen his highlight reel, which everyone's highlight reel looks impressive on YouTube.
Didier Zakora looked like a world beater on YouTube.
Harry Winks. Harry Winks was the best first touch at the club, caller.
What's that, sorry, Shan?
Harry Winks is the best first touch at the club.
Whatever. Yeah.
He can hit a tea bag into a cup. Can you do that?
With about 42,000 takes, I reckon I probably could, yeah.
We're totally straying into the office territory. I can throw something on a roof. What can you do?
Elsewhere, I see Jurgen Klopp was really gracious in defeat at the weekend. It's a bit worrying to see West Ham looking that good, though, isn't it, Jamie? I mean, do we need to be worried about our London rivals? West Ham doing well, Arsenal having a renaissance under Arteta.
I'll deal with them. I'll deal with West Ham first. I think they're a really good side, and I think David Moyes has done an incredible job. But I think as the season progresses, and if they progress in the Europa League, which I think they'd like to, I think their squad is too weak to compete in both fronts, and I think the cracks will start to appear at some point. They're very reliant on a few players, on the likes of Rice and Souček and Antonio, and one little injury could completely derail their season. But hats off to them; they've done an incredible job, and they were deserved winners yesterday. As for Arsenal, no, I think they're still a long way away from being a side that we need to be concerned about. When they're labouring past Watford and having to, score goals by not passing the ball back to the opposition, that kind of tells you everything you need to know. They should have been beaten by Crystal Palace. I think they're still a million miles away from being a side that are going to be competing for the top 4 or even the top 6. To be quite honest with you, I think I've seen a lot of people say over the last 24, 48 hours, the top 4 is miles away, and Antonio Conte's going to have his work cut out getting into the top 4. I think there's 3 class sides in the Premier League, but I think that 4th spot is completely up for grabs.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Especially as long as Ollie's in charge.
Well, exactly. Manchester United aren't pulling up trees.
I've got to be honest, Man United with their squad should be walking into that top 3, making it a top 4 really, and being 4 quality sides in the league. But the longer Ollie is in a job and at the wheel, the better as far as I'm concerned for a Spurs fan. John, you feel the same way? Are you optimistic about top 4?
I'm not optimistic about top 4 yet. If we get a couple of good players in January, which we're getting vibes for, then I'll be more positive. Yeah. I mean, you're right about United, apart from the fact he keeps playing McFred, as they're known as, in midfield.
I loved Roy Keane's little rant at the weekend, by the way. Absolutely loved it. What a lad he is, Jamie.
If Ali came in here now, I'd grab him by the lapels. I'd say, "Why are you playing Fred in that midfield?" That's the first time I've seen a former teammate of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer actually criticize him. Well, maybe he's criticizing Fred rather than Solskjaer. I don't know, but look, I think the longer that Solskjaer remains in charge at United, the longer we don't, the more we don't need to really worry about them as a force.
Well, talking about worrying, am I really worried about the number of likes we've got? Am I going to have to say nice things about Harry Winks? No, is the long and short of it. We've got nearly 200 people watching. We have got 200 people watching live now and only 69 likes. So we're not going to get to 150 and I won't have to say anything nice about Harry Winks. So thank you very much, watchers.
Come on.
I just think it's incredible. We've had 5 dismissals now in the Premier League this season. We're not even at December. Farquhar and Smith gone. Did well there, didn't I?
Farquhar.
Lord Farquhar.
Who
do you think is going to replace them, Shan? If you can, no, I'm not going to. You can't get it together. HG, who's in the frame?
For which one? For any
Norwich.
Norwich. I saw they interviewed Frank Lampard. Lampard would be stupid to go there, as far as I'm concerned. I don't I don't know. Is the short answer to that, because Norwich are one of those teams where no one expects anything, but they don't really have a great deal to work with either. So Cantwell's probably going to leave this summer. Can we name any other Norwich players that have a decent reputation? Their main striker's in his 30s. Sorry.
Todd Cantwell's a decent player, I think, but I don't know what's happened to him. He's sort of. Did you say that? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I said Cantwell, but that's it. I think he's the only one. The other Norwich players. I mean, they've got decent reputation, some of them, but the
fullback. What's his face?
Aarons.
Max
Aarons. Yeah, I just don't know. I'm not sure what. If you're a manager that's out of work, then obviously Norwich would appeal. But for anyone, I don't know.
Big Sam's licking his chops, isn't he?
Realistically, you're going to be managing a club in the Championship next season if you take the Norwich job. That's the thing, and I think Frank Lampard's ego is too big to consider himself ready to step down to the Championship again. So it's difficult to get a man in for that job. I see it in their shortlist, like Ralph Hasenhüttl was on their shortlist. Dream on, he's not going to leave Southampton to take the Norwich job.
I heard Dean Smith's one of the favourites now.
Yeah, Dean Smith and Delia Smith together.
I think that would it'd be a good move, actually, because he'd be prepared to go down and he knows the Championship.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. With Dean Smith, no one ever really knows now, was it Grealish the whole time? Right? Because he was there when they got promoted. They were very lucky to stay up the first season. Now Grealish is gone.
Brentford were a bloody good side under Dean Smith as well.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a good manager.
Yeah, it is true. It's just, I don't know. Aston Villa is clearly the plum job of the two. Right? I mean, that's the one where you've got...
This time yesterday, I was really hoping that Eddie Howe would do a complete about turn and reject the Newcastle job and take the Villa job instead, because that would have been frankly hilarious. But I see he's now finally put pen to paper on the Newcastle gig. I think Villa's a really appealing job. I think they've got some quality players there. They're a massive club with a huge fan base. I think they're not going to be short of suitors. I think Unai Emery could be a man that would do a decent job there. Steven Gerrard, I can't see him leaving Rangers mid-season. I think he wants to win one more title in Scotland and really stamp the authority on the blue half of Glasgow. Roberto Martinez, I see, is in the mix as well. He's already rejected Villa once 10 years ago. So I think Villa's a really exciting job to have. I'm sure Lampard's people are on the phone to Villa as well, and John Terry's people probably as well.
I mean, it's Steve Bruce, being an ex-Villa manager and having played for Norwich, he's like, great, I can put off retirement for another few years.
Yeah,
I've got a choice.
I think Gov makes a good point. Villa, massive club, billionaire owners, lots of history. It would be a good
Fonseca. They might go foreign, Villa, I think.
Fonseca.
Fonseca.
Looking for a
Casper Humand. He's 13-2.
Yeah.
I do like this. How happy would we all be if Newcastle get relegated? Just couldn't happen better, could it?
It's going to happen.
The thing is, what's the difficult situation for me is I really like Eddie Howe, and I want nice things for Eddie Howe. I want him to succeed anywhere he is because he's genuinely a lovely guy. But I don't particularly want nice things for Newcastle United or for those owners. So it's that's why I was desperate for him not to take the job. But it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I mean, anyone would take that job, wouldn't they? I mean, you're gonna be able to shape that club in your image, and sign whoever you want. Money's not going to be an object potentially. So that's good. Did anyone see Nuno's statement today? Did you see that, Shan? What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice, but I think when you look at that, it was quite cold. Like, it didn't mention the players or anything. So I think it was clear from what some of the players have come out and said in the media, obviously since Conte's come on board. Obviously, there was that weird radio silence when he went. No one said anything. And then Nuno basically was like sour grapes and was like, yeah, I was manager of the month a few weeks ago and now I'm sacked. That's basically what he said. Thanks for your support, but not really, because I was manager of the month a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I think it definitely shows that maybe some of the rumours in the press were likely to be true. That there was a big divide between Nuno's coaching staff and the squad, and that the squad just weren't doing anything for him. They didn't believe in him. They didn't particularly like him very much. I think it's all quite. I think he was always quite cold with the press as well. So.
He is, yeah.
So, yeah.
Project Nuno is gone. There you go. Maybe he'll be straight into management and we'll regret sacking him. Maybe he'll be...
Maybe he's the man for Norwich.
I think he'd do a good job at Norwich.
Yeah. No reason why not.
No egos at Norwich. So
I think that's where he really came unstuck. Really, you haven't got the egos to deal with at Wolves that you have at Spurs. Have you? Christ Almighty! You're talking about massive egos within that club, and Spurs is an absolutely massive club. King Hoddle says his statement was bland. There's a shock. So there you go. International break coming up. Oh, that's got to be. How many international breaks are we on now? Is this the third or the fourth?
Third season.
It just feels like whenever we get going, whenever we string like 3 games together, there's a break.
What I would say to that is this is the last one till March, which is probably why you see so many clubs sacking managers now, because it's the last little gap you've got where. And I would say, actually, if you look at our fixtures when you come back from the international break, on paper, they're fairly kind. And the players that are going away for the next couple of weeks, the likes of Sonny and Kane and Romero and Lloris, well, we don't need to worry about those. They're all world-class players anyway. But it's the players who are staying behind, the likes of Brian Hill and Tanguy and Ndombele and Sergio Reguilon, the players who know Antonio Conte has got 2 weeks to work with on that training ground every single day, to run them into the ground, double sessions for 2 weeks straight. That's exciting. So I actually think it's a great time to have an international break. From a Spurs point of view, it's a great time to have an international break.
Do you know what's annoying as well? And we know he won't do it because he's country before club every time. But the 2 internationals England have are completely and utterly pointless, and we shouldn't need Harry Kane to play in those.
But you just know that Harry Kane's thinking against San Marino, I can add another 8 goals onto my England tally.
He won't play that, will he, in that game? He'll play the Albania game. He won't play San Marino.
He'll be in Southgate's ear saying, I want to play against San Marino, but that's where Gareth needs to sort of say, nah, sorry.
I just wish he'd do what the others have done and say, oh, sorry, I'm injured. Can't go.
But Harry Kane is all about Harry Kane, isn't he? And that's what we've seen this year, really. He's not whatever the rights and wherefores of the transfer chase. And HG's put this across many times. Harry Kane will always do what's right for Harry Kane. He's incredibly selfish on the pitch. He's incredibly selfish off it, in my opinion. And you're absolutely right, Jamie. He'll be absolutely in the ear of Southgate, going, "I want to play because I want to break the records."
Look, and the other way to look at it is perhaps it's not a bad thing if he gets a little bit of confidence rebuilt in an England jersey as well, because he's clearly struggling for a bit of confidence at the moment. And if anything that just suddenly switches him back into the Harry Kane that we know, the Harry Kane of last season, is a good thing. So if he goes away and bags a hat-trick against Albania and bags another hat-trick against San Marino and then comes back with the bit between his teeth, then great. So, it might not necessarily be a bad thing.
Well,
I hope so, because I've put him back into my fantasy team. Every time he just lets me down.
Well, I think 1 goal this season so far, isn't it? And that was against Newcastle.
Yeah, but I was like, we know he's going to have a big Antonio boner. He's gonna go and bag a hattie against Everton. I'm gonna put him back in now. No, didn't turn up again.
Well, rumor has it there's some strange goings on at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this week. Concern is growing for Daniel Levy's welfare, as it was revealed that the ticket prices for the West Ham League Cup game were only £25 per head. What is going on there? I mean, surely he could be charging 50 for this, John.
I think probably because it's 2 days before Christmas. We've got a few home games, haven't we? We've got Liverpool a couple of days before. I think they're probably just trying to make sure we fill the stadium, get a big crowd in behind the team, and let's try and get through to the next round.
Now, I was there thinking you were saying it's close to Christmas and Daniel Levy's going to dress up as Santa and he's giving away £25.
He's going to dress up as Ebenezer Scrooge.
he's going to get the school kids in, free tickets, £25 a head. It's great from the club, this though, isn't it, HG? When we needed some good positive press, we've fleeced people. The return to fans obviously was £50. I made sure I ate every single pie I could that game because just because I felt so aggrieved about the price. This is a nice story for once.
Yeah, we don't need the good news, but Levy does, and that's just it. Like all the crap that have been written, not just by the trust, but by lots of people over the last 6 to 8 months about Levy and his decision making. This is a good choice, so let's be happy that he's done it. But it's clearly there's a lot more in it for Levy than anyone else.
Well, he's making some dangerously good decisions lately, isn't he? I mean, he's appointed.
He was due some, to be fair. It's been a run of some quite bad decisions.
He has.
I will say, Levy. Sorry, Caller, go.
No, it's fine. Paratici in, Conte in. I know Paratici cocked up the Nuno appointment, but he's kind of hopefully made amends for that now. He's starting to get things right. Maybe can we hope? Can we see green shoots?
But Levy will always try and make the best managerial appointment he can, right? I mean, he did that. He's done that his whole Spurs career. He looks to see who's available, looks to see which one has the most honours or the best track record, and then goes for them. Pochettino wasn't his first choice. Yao wasn't his first choice. Pretty much any good manager we've had under Levy wasn't his first choice. But Conte was his first choice in the summer and we couldn't get him. And we got him now. And that was basically because Paratici was probably already at the club rather in the summer when Paratici hadn't actually joined yet. Yeah. Levy, to give him credit, he makes understandable decisions, even if they're bad ones. When it comes to how he treats the fans, you can sit there and be like, well, it's understandable, supply and demand, market forces, all that rubbish. But this one isn't that. And it's going to work well on him. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And £25 for West Ham at home and in a cup game, that's a really good deal, especially in that stadium. I mean, it's only been 5 years since we played them at the same 7 years since we played them at the same stage in Sherwood's first game. And I'd love to know what the tickets were that night, but I would imagine they were more than £25. So you've got to praise Levy for the odd decision because this one is a good one.
But it is the odd decision. It is the odd decision indeed, as you quite rightly point out. Let's take some questions from people who are watching tonight. So if you've got a question for the panel, do drop it in there. Seen a few coming through.
I just want to say I hope that my sanity stays okay over that week because I'm at Spurs 3 times in one.
Oh, are you? My goodness.
I think I might be broken by the end of it. I might have to have a month off.
Here's a question for you. I've seen a few people were talking about this earlier when we were talking about who's going to have a renaissance under Conte. Dele, where does he fit in, Jamie? I'd love your thoughts on this because I've heard everyone here numerous times, but he's a bit of an enigma, isn't he?
As I said earlier, he's the conundrum, and I think it could go one of two ways under Conte. We know from any club that Conte's been, really, that he loves that sort of foil to the striker, that I don't like to say number 10, but, a midfielder sort of arriving in the box on the end of chances, like he had with, Lampard at Chelsea. And actually, no, Lampard had gone by then, hadn't he? But, he's had it pretty much everywhere he's been, that kind of player. Dele can be that kind of player, but it's been 3 or 4 years since we've seen it. I don't know. I said earlier, I would put Dele and Ndombele and Lo Celso all into that bracket of players who will go one way or the other under Conte. They'll either be his stars and his guys, or they'll be out the door. And I think all of us have desperately wanted it to work out for Dele, but for the last 3 years, it hasn't. And you feel as you bang your head against a brick wall with him sometimes.
It does, doesn't it? And I'm his biggest fan, but he's just frustrating. He's just frustrating. Yeah. And the thing is, I think this is a valid point. Where does he fit in a 3-4-3 or a 5-3-2?
He fits in. If you're playing 3-4-1-2, if you like, he can be the one. He can be the man behind Harry and Sonny. But it's just whether you can get him firing.
I mean, HG, you're the biggest defendant of Dele, probably, that I've ever met. What are your thoughts?
I am tall and quite fat. That's true. Dele is a front foot player, and Spurs haven't played front foot football for how long? 2 seasons since Pochettino left. That's a big thing for me. You wouldn't ask Oliver Skip to be a number 10. So Dele, as a defensive midfielder, trying to play on the counter-attack, it just doesn't suit him. I think if it's a 3-5-2, if you said to me that the front two were Kane and Dele, I'm happy because they've proven in the Premier League that they are a decent partnership. If it's Son and Dele, okay, well, they've played together for a number of years. They do know each other works. If it's who's left, Kane and Son, well, we all know what happens there. If it's two of those three, I am all right with it. I still think we need an extra one, like we've talked about before. But I think Dele, as close to the goal as can be, as close to Harry Kane as can be, that's where he's going to do his most damage. But we have to be on the front foot. And I think we saw yesterday against Everton that we want to play that way. For a large portion of the first half, we were camped inside the Everton half. And so if we can do that and Dele is closest to goal, or, that to me is where he should be playing. So, but if he can't do it under Conte, then I think that probably is it. But the whole Mourinho and the whole Ryan Mason and the whole Nuno, none of them suited the way that Dele wants to play, the way that we've seen Dele be his best at. So that's why I defend him, because I just think that the systems matter to players. Very few players can play very well in every single type of play that you want to do.
And I think Matt picks up a good point. Dele in the 10 behind the striker is incredible if there's an Eriksen to pick out the late runs, but that doesn't work with Højbjerg and Skip.
Can I put a question to you four here?
I'm not
just putting this out there. I'm not necessarily saying that I believe this, but just putting it out there. Everyone always says we've never replaced Christian Eriksen. We know under the Italian rules he can't play in Italy. He played at Inter last season under Antonio Conte. Even if it was for a little 6-month loan in January till the end of the season, would you take Christian Eriksen back?
I'll go. I don't think he's going to meet the criteria for the Premier League. But
does he not? I think it's different. I don't know. I probably should know this as a
think
journalist.
I don't think it is. Maybe you know better than me, I'm sure. But if let's go hypothetical and say, okay, meets the criteria, would I have him back? Short term, yes. Long term, no. We've got so many of these legacy players, if you like, from the Poch era. I want to see us build something new and look forward. And I just don't think Eriksen's the future. What is he, about 29 now? I just think we need to look beyond that and look for the next generation. I'd rather see us sign a 22, 23-year-old up-and-coming player than try and turn back the clock to the Poch era. But you guys, what do you think? Shan, let's go to you first.
if he was healthy and he was okay to play, then yes. Even if it was just short term while we try and find or bring someone in to learn from Eriksen in training and play with him and learn from him, because we do desperately miss someone of Eriksen's ilk, although it doesn't really help us with corners because he was never really good at those either. So no, I'd love to have him back, even if like Jamie says, it was for 6 months and we get someone else that can learn from him, or he
Pape Sarr. Get Pape Sarr back from Metz and just let him study Christian Eriksen for 6 months.
I wouldn't be against that, and then let him do his coaching badges.
HG?
I'm really 50-50 on it. Instinctively, the answer is no, because of what you said. I don't really want to go back in time. But yeah, at 29, he's not dead, right? I mean, you probably shouldn't say that, but like he has got some football left in him. But I've seen in the comments, no one's going to insure him. That may well be true. It's a tough one because he is what we miss. But if what happened in the summer hadn't have happened, there's no way we'd be having this conversation, right? No one would be wanting him back. And so I just think that we should probably stick with that and hope that we find something different in the transfer market. For a 6-month loan, yes, but even then, I'd be looking at other players first.
John?
I would just be too worried that something happened to him on the pitch again, I think. Obviously, we had the Fabrice Muamba thing a few years ago. So it's quite close to a lot of Spurs fans' memories. If I can take that aside, I've said previously, I don't think we'll be able to get Sarr in January. We could almost do with signing a midfielder on loan just to get us through to the end of the season. So on what HG just said, in a way, it makes sense. If we could take the heart problem completely away, then I'd probably say yes. But I don't think it can happen.
Answer your question, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to sort of canvass opinion. It's clearly, we've already touched upon it earlier in the podcast. It's one thing missing from the team, that little bit of creativity. And he was the best in the business at it for a long time. But you don't want that in your conscience if he's still not, Daley Blind is the example of somebody who plays with a pacemaker or whatever it is, or whatever the medical term for it is. But I suppose it is a constant risk where you would have in the back of your head. You would want to have some serious reassurances from all of Eriksen's doctors that he is fit enough to play.
I think the difference is with Blind is he hasn't had a cardiac arrest, has he? They caught it before then, so that would have done some damage to his heart.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Well, let's see the way that pans out. The sort of the part of me that wants to reminisce about the Poch era would love to see him back, just even if it's for a few months. Hotspur Sam, channel member, thank you for your support. Will we win a trophy this season or next? I mean, I love that one. I love it. I love the optimism. We're talking about winning trophies. I'm going to stick it out there and say we're going to win the Conference League this year.
I agree.
Jamie, you first?
I agree. I think we'll win the Conference League.
Which would be amazing, to be honest.
Roma are the only team to worry about in that competition. Unfortunately, I would love it to be a Spurs-Roma final with Mourinho in the opposite dugout, but I think Jose might have been sacked by then.
Don't worry about Bodo Glimt.
Bodo Glimt, yeah.
What do you think, John? We're going to win something this year?
Oh, it's down to the luck of the draw, isn't it? I think really is. We've been unlucky. The last few finals we played Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool when they've been at the peak of their powers.
Yeah. That's how hard it is to win a trophy, though, isn't it? That's
but then Ports have got to play Cardiff in the final, didn't they? A few years back.
Yeah. But I suppose that's my point, though. There's 2 or 3 teams carving up all the trophies. You got your Liverpool, your City. It's difficult. It's really hard to win trophies. The Europa League, obviously, it's an open path. That's Europa Conference League, I should say. HG?
My comment kind of goes with what Matt Hayes says here. Bodo Glimt are a very, very, very good team. And I think there are lots of decent teams, not just in the Conference League right now, but also that will drop out of the Europa League. Although it's a third-tier competition now, we've still taken some of those teams from the Europa League, like Spurs, who would have dropped down. I just think it's really overconfident to think that Spurs will make the final of a competition right now. We always find ways to mess it up. So, like, logically, the League Cup is our best chance of winning something because we've only got 3 games left, or 4 games because it's a 2-leg semi-final, right? But like, I just this season it's possible. Next season it's more possible, but I don't see the Conference League as being our best chance just because other teams may not be good. We got beaten by Vitesse. We got beaten by Pacos de Ferreira. Like we have a defeat in us in lots of ways. And yes, I know that wasn't our best team in either of those games, but still, this is Spurs. Dinamo Zagreb.
This is Antonio Conte Spurs, though.
I know,
that's the difference.
Dinamo Zagreb are not 3 goals better than Jose Mourinho, and yet they were.
Well, they might be. Bodo Glimt are 6 goals better than them.
Well, I mean, that's the funny. Like, how much of us have watched Bodo Glimt? I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you have seen them, you know they're actually quite good. But yeah, to beat them, was it 6-1 at home and 2-2?
I saw his last film.
Bad results. Sorry, caller.
I think I saw his last film.
Yeah, was it that Mr. Farfarkar?
So we're going to win something then, HG, or not?
Look,
what's your prediction?
Yes, but next season, not this one.
Okay, we'll take that. Come on then, Shan.
Of course we are. Yeah, of course we are. No, look, I think the best thing for us would be we win the League Cup after beating West Ham, Arsenal, and Chelsea. It's possible that could happen. That would be great, winning a trophy with that run. But I don't know if it would happen. But yeah, there's no reason we can't. We are as good on paper, if not better, than a lot of the teams that will drop down from the Europa League and that are already in the Conference League. I know that HG thinks I've got this big sense of entitlement that we deserve to
Millennials.
do. But this is Conte Spurs. Like, I don't think he's not going to allow them to crumble how we have previously. He is a winner. He knows how to win things. He's at the peak of his. He's not Jose Mourinho. Let's be honest. Jose Mourinho is washed. So,
what has Antonio Conte won in Europe?
Nothing.
Exactly. Spurs are very good at doing
first time for everything.
Come on.
There is a first time for everything.
I mean, in fairness, he's never had a run at the Europa Conference League.
And also, he's usually fighting for titles, which he knows he won't be this season. So he could almost sack off the league a little bit, depending on how close we are to 4th.
Well, I don't think he'll be sacking anything off, but
no. But he, at some point, unless we sign 6 or 7 players, or he can amazingly improve Winks and co, he's going to have to stick with the same 13, 14 players, isn't he? So he can't run them into the ground.
On that basis, how fast will Conte clear out the dead weight, i.e. Harry Winks, January or next summer? So let's talk transfers in and out briefly. So what do we think? How many ins and outs in January, Jamie, do you reckon?
I think realistically, maybe 2 out, 2 in, something like that. I think people need to have realistic expectations. It's not going to be suddenly 10 players leave in January and 10 brand new players come in. It's going to be a gradual process. It's not going to happen overnight. So that's what I think he'll want the next 6 weeks to have a look at everybody and see who's going to have a chance underneath him and who isn't. And then, and it could be a couple of shrewd loan moves, perhaps, is what you go for in January instead. But it's going to be a gradual process. Have patience, people. Have patience.
Yeah. The right Fernandez this time, maybe. HG, any different for you? Do you think
I think loans are the way to go.
Who do you think will be out the door? January.
Who do I think or who do I want?
Who do you think? Because we know you want.
Well, I mean, anyone who barely makes the 20 will be the first out. So if they didn't make the bench, or if they don't make the bench in games, then they're going to be the ones that are closest to leaving. I think it was actually quite telling that Doherty came on as a left wing back when we could have put Davies there and stuck on a left-sided centre back who never plays for Spurs on instead. But I'm not sure Rodon was even on the bench yesterday.
I think he was.
No. So those are the ones that are most likely to go. The ones that just aren't involved. Whether they should be is a different question, but they're most likely. But we have a bit of space in our squad. I think we've only got 13, foreign players in our squad right now, so we can take 2 or 3 on loan, and it doesn't affect anything. It just affects minutes available for those players, but we can strengthen the squad. If someone leaves, it'll be probably loan with an option to buy, because you just don't know how much money that clubs have right now. But it's that there are going to be deals that can be done, and I think Paratici is probably. I trust him more than Hitchin, so I want to be positive about it. But certainly by the start of next season, Conte will have a squad that he's happy with, and that's really all we can ask for.
John, who would you sell?
Who'd I sell?
And more to the point, who's a realistic striker that's going to join in January, given that no one really trades that time of year? Big clubs.
I mean, it's going to be someone from Europe, isn't it? I think. I can't see anyone in this country coming in. I'm not an expert on the European football. That's why we have HG.
Vlahovic.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, Shan?
It's going to be Vlahovic.
What, in January?
Yeah. He's out of contract in the summer, isn't he?
No, 18 months.
The year after. He's got 18 months.
Right, okay.
It still wouldn't surprise me if we offered him good money if they let him go. He's not signing a contract, is he?
No, and that's the thing. I don't know what Fiorentina's season is like. If they still have a chance of Champions League, then they'll keep him. But if they think maybe we'll take the money now so we can reinvest and do that thing, then we do have a chance. But logically, I see Vlahovic as being next summer for whoever he chooses to sign for. This over the winter, you're looking at strikers who aren't getting games, and that for most of the players that will want to move in January, it's the ones that aren't getting games or the ones that are out of contract in 6 months, like Mbappe.
Fiorentina, by the way, are the Spurs of the Spurs of the Serie A. Played 12, won 6, lost 6.
There you go. It's not easy to do, but you can find players in January that change your season. And
Belotti as well, isn't there? He's out of contract.
Who is that? Sorry,
Belotti.
Belotti is out. I mean, they're going to be looking at Italian players. I think that's safe to say that they're going to go there first and foremost. Belotti's 27. I think he's a number 9 striker, kind of the old-fashioned number 9 striker. It would make a lot of sense. I don't know where Torino are in the league. If Torino are close to relegation, they'll probably want to keep him and let him go on a free. Maybe he wants to leave on a free. There are so many variables, but I do think there are strikers out there that will want to come to Spurs, even if they are, second or third choice. There are strikers out there. We've just got to find them and convince them that we're the place they want to be.
Well, Kane needs some competition. I mean, I would have dropped him already if we had even Vinicius in the squad.
He's rubbish at PSV right now.
He was rubbish at Spurs mainly. Let's be honest.
Really, he was a tapping merchant, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I think we're hearing rumours that there's 2 players that we're getting very close with. No idea who they are, but we definitely need to minimum 2 in. We need to get some of these guys out, even if it's on loan. I'd love to see some of the youngsters like Niall John go. Send him off to Portsmouth or Southend or somewhere to go and see what the real man's game's
not
like.
Southend. Don't dirty them like that. Come on.
But he needs to go and play against physical players, not in this under-23 stuff, which is very nice tippy-tappy football, isn't it? A lot of the time, but it's not physical enough. But, Skippy, it's done the world of good to him, hasn't it? Going to Norwich last year.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
This is an interesting one. Financial reports and results at the end of the month. We're going to do a special show on that with the accountant, Mr. Diver. We're going to take a dive into the Spurs finances. So do keep up with that. Gov, I'm pleased Mason will get to learn under, I think he means Conte. I'm concerned Mason's influence is why Winks and Davis have got to run out before others. Interesting point. Jamie.
I don't think Conte knows who he's been watching Spurs games. He knows which players to pick.
Yeah, okay.
Conte's no one's yes man, is he? Let's be honest. He'd murder Mason in his sleep if he had
to. Jamie, Mason as part of the setup, were you impressed with him last season? Do you think he's going to have a promising coaching career?
I think it's fantastic. I think what a coach to learn from, Antonio Conte, to be able to pick his brains and be there listening to his tactics and his team discussions every single day. I think that's fantastic for Ryan Mason. I think it's a great thing for Antonio Conte to do, to want him to be part of this, of the coaching staff as well. And yeah, it's fantastic. Fast forward 5 years' time when Ryan Mason, Jan Vertonghen, and Christian Eriksen are our coaching team. Fantastic stuff. Get these proper Spurs people involved.
Craig's saying Belotti, Insigne, Dybala on a free? Is he out? His contract coming up? Is it? I thought he was signing a new one.
I think he is signing, and he's in talks to sign a new contract, isn't he?
Kessie and Brozic. So there's some amazing players on short-term contracts, isn't there, HG? Well, coming up to the end of their deals. It could be that we're looking at more wage fees than transfer fees in the summer, maybe.
Well, yes. I mean, if they're on free, then it will be wages, won't it? Given that Paratici likes to sign players who are on frees, he's done that many a time. Levy likes to sign players who are towards the end of their contract or on frees. That's where we're going to be looking. I don't see us going. I mean, let's say Vlahovic will have a year left, but if anyone who's got longer than a year, Spurs will know they probably have to spend a lot more money, and maybe they won't want to do it. So I think it'd be wise to look at those players first and foremost, because again, even if it's just for 1 or 2 years, Conte was only at Inter for 2 years. He was only at Chelsea for 2 years. Like it's something that, although Spurs as a club need to be thinking long term, and Paratici will obviously do that. Use the advantage when you've got it. Now we've got a world-class manager. We can attract world-class players, and if they're 29 or 30 for a couple of years, okay. If they're 29 and 30 and they want 5-year deals, then the answer is no, as far as I'm concerned, because that's like doing what Arsenal did with Ozil and with what they're seeing now with Aubameyang. I don't want that for Spurs, but there are players. I believe it.
I think that's the exciting thing as well, HG. That not only have you got a genuinely world-class coach at the peak of his powers, who players will want to come and work for and play under, but you've got a director of football who's obviously very well connected and has a fat contacts book as well. And the two of them together mean that there could be some very savvy moves done in January. And I'm sure that they're already eyeing that up.
I just think that you're right, Jamie. I think the combination is incredible. If you look at where Spurs are, I just wanted to flag this, by the way. Markando nominated Premier League Team Player of the Month. He's having an incredible time right now. He needs to be out on loan, maybe in a championship side, putting a ball in the onion bag. But I suppose that's something for a different day. The point I was making was we are set for success. The final piece for me was Conte. It's so exciting right now. You've got Paratici, who basically is one of Europe's best director of footballs. Conte, one of the top 3 managers in the Premier League, 4 managers in the Premier League, if not the world. We've got the best stadium in the world, the best, as everyone knows, because we like to trot it out, training facilities in the world. But even Conte's saying that. That's the thing. Even Conte's saying all these things. It really is set for success. It's really exciting time, I've got to say. I for one, am really excited. And the thing is, we've had lots of false dawns at Spurs over the last few years. This feels like we must be maybe on the beginning of something great. Craig says Pogba and Mbappe on freeze this summer anyway. Yeah.
I do. I think wherever Kylian Mbappe goes, it will be a surprise. I don't think he's going to go to Real Madrid.
Really?
I think he might. Yeah, I do. I think he'll wait 2 or 3 seasons and then go, because he's only 22, 23. No. I'm not saying Spurs are the surprise, right? But I do think it will be a surprise.
Kylian, welcome to Spurs. You're not starting this week. Harry's starting, but you might get 20 minutes off the bench.
His first game in England was at Spurs.
Mbappe and Kane up top.
Yeah, nice.
I think I've said for a while, Mbappe to Liverpool strikes me as something that could happen. It really does. I don't want it to.
You are quite the conspiracy theorist at the moment. The other week you were talking about Reguilon going back to Real Madrid, and that was the reason he was dropped.
No. I think if you gave him the option of another season of Nuno or going back to Real Madrid, you'd pick Real Madrid, if only for the fact you could then go and play somewhere else. Like that it's not conspiracy theory. I just try and put myself in the position of the player. What choice would you make if you're working for a manager you don't like? The club that has the opportunity to purchase you wants to, and it's your boyhood club. Like, you'd go back to Real Madrid, and even if it meant you were second choice for a season before you went out back to Seville, you'd probably be happy with that. Like, Spurs under Nuno was a bit of a graveyard for players. Now under Conte, we're not. It's a massive change, and I don't think that's conspiracy. I just think that, like, I don't think players will only go for money. I think they look at other things. And right now, Spurs, maybe we can offer money that we never used to, but we've got other things that clubs don't have. Antonio Conte. And now we do. It is a massive, massive improvement in the last 7 days that feel like 7 weeks. Like, I almost don't remember Nuno being our manager.
That's because it never happened, HG.
I think it's one of those that you probably want to, like, glaze over when you look at the history of Tottenham. I think it's not been mentioned, but the naming rights, of course, the naming rights are still to be done. That potentially that's 200 million quid.
I read that comment that you just put up. I read that as it being called the Caller Stadium.
I mean, I haven't got 20 million a season sat around, but I'm sure I could stretch to something for the Caller Stadium. I'd love that.
You've got a baby on the way, mate. You can't stretch for anything right now.
No.
Absolutely. Conte did look emotional his first game for us because he realised, fuck me, I've signed for Tottenham.
Yeah.
Oh no,
the pictures the Premier League shared on. They shared the pictures of Conte's first Premier League game, and the last one, he's just there with his head in his hand. It's like, why do you have to do us dirty at every opportunity? They've blatantly just put that in there to bait people, and everyone's like, yeah, this is what Spurs is doing to him already.
Yeah, true. Mbappe for right wing back anyway.
Nah,
nobody thinks he's going to sign for Spurs. Nobody thinks that.
He's not fit to lace Emerson Royale's boots.
Conte said it was too much. Yeah, there you go. Quality of it. Yeah. Lots of people wanting Mbappe. We shouldn't definitely have not put that up there. See how expectation builds so quickly and so easily if you're not careful.
Poch would do that. Poch loves us. He'd let us have Mbappe for 6 months. Well, maybe send him Dele Alli in return.
And Winksy.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if we sent him Dele and Winksy for Mbappe, that would be dreamland, wouldn't it? Christ almighty.
Well, none of us thought we'd get Conte, hence Gub's $500 donation. So that was a surprise.
True.
So you never know.
I don't know about you guys, but this time last week, when it was like, no, the Conte thing, it's definitely going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. I was still, because I'm a Spurs fan of over 30 years and we can't have nice things, I was still thinking right up until the tweet actually went out, I was thinking, surely Manchester United are going to try and come and hijack this. Surely they're going to hear the noises coming out of Italy and Tottenham and think, we better bin off Solskjaer prompt and get Conte in because this is our best chance. And it didn't happen. And I think they massively missed a trick there.
Apparently, they weren't even thinking about Conte.
No, I know.
It's
remarkable.
Isn't it just amazing that Solskjaer's been given so much time, like so much and money in the transfer market? It's just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I think he's bought good players. He just doesn't know how to use them, and that's the point of a manager. Like, I saw a comment early on tonight about how players win games, not managers. What a load of bollocks! Whoever that was, I'm sorry, but managers get players to do the things needed to win games. You look at the best teams in England; they have the best managers in England, and the reason why the fourth place is wide open is because there were only 3 until Conte showed up. Managers are a massive part of any team sport. And we just have to hope. Like, I mean, it is hope that Conte is going to do Conte things, right?
Well, here's one. Here's a player who Solskjaer has completely frozen out. And if we're talking about 6-month loan deals in January, Donny van de Beek, would he be somebody that would fit in at Spurs? A little bit of creative genius in midfield.
My only caveat with him is, I mean, he was bought on the basis of like 2 good seasons with Ajax, wasn't he, in quite a soft league. Correct me if I'm wrong, HG. You rolling your eyes at me?
Yeah, I'm wearing a Dutch top, mate. So I'm rolling your eyes. Yes.
It's true though.
Well, the Ajax are the best team in Holland by a country mile, and it's because they've done well in Champions Leagues and they qualify every year, and they've got more money than anyone else. Donny van de Beek is a very good player. I don't know where he would fit. if I'm honest. Like, I think he's a very good player. I don't even know what player I would compare him to. You know, he's very good on the ball. He scores his fair share of goals. He's not necessarily a box-to-box player. He's not necessarily a defensive midfielder. So, again, I don't think he's massively creative like an Eriksen was. They had other players to do that in the Ajax team. So I would be nervous about Van der Beek. There are Ajax players I would take over him for sure.
There are some red flags for them. And not least, I don't think... I mean...
I'd take Lingard ahead of Van der Beek.
I'd love Lingard in this Spurs team with Conte. I think he could do a job.
Don't think they'll sell him, unfortunately.
He's only got 6 months left, hasn't he?
Has he really?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go, another free transfer. Christ almighty, this overhaul's going to cost us nothing, is it? We might even make money. Can you imagine?
Fair in the wage bill because we got rid of loads and didn't actually sign anyone on big wages in the summer.
Imagine how livid people will be that hate Daniel Levy if he doesn't spend anything and yet manages to overhaul the squad and add quality and come out at a transfer profit because he sold Winks and Dele.
And we win the league. Imagine how angry everyone would
I mean, that is dreamland, isn't it? I mean,
if you take the Kessie deal, right? Apparently it was 190 grand a week or something like that.
Allegedly.
That's a fair chunk of wage for anyone at Spurs. But that's all it is. So if it's a 4-year deal, 5-year deal, what's that? 50 million euros?
Yeah.
That is a lot of money. But when you're paying 40 or 50 million euros to get the player in the first place and then adding that on, it's a half price deal. You know, it always works at half price. The player wins, the club wins, and if it doesn't work out, okay, yes, you probably have to pay part of those wages because you won't find a club to take them on, but you still win because they're going to pay 20 million, 30 million for the privilege to sign that person on lower wages. It's a pretty good way of doing things.
Craig, I thought they were specifically clearing the wage bill so we can bring in these players. I guess that is, you know, I don't know what the wage situation is. It'll be interesting. Those accounts will be really interesting when we see them, albeit it'll be the year prior, so we won't see recent data on it. But we were carrying a lot more wages last season than we were this. I mean, straight we were Gareth Bale on
$500,000 we've saved in wage. We've not got that we had last season in
a week.
Wages. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I mean, that's so. You know, we should. No wonder he's got a war chest.
And when you think about the clubs that can pay the wages we can, it's only clubs in the Premier League. I mean, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Barcelona don't have any money. Real Madrid have a bit, which they're probably saving for Mbappe. Let's be fair, but our competition is inside the Premier League. So any of those players that we like the look of, that they're going to be saying, well, okay, if City is an option, they'll probably pick City. Same with Liverpool. Chelsea, they don't need so many players, so maybe that's not somewhere they would go. But there are enough players around that we can look at our squad that's still pretty threadbare and say, right, we can get some quality, and not just guys like we used to in the 90s when it was Leonardson and John Scales and anyone who was like 29 looking for one last deal.
Yeah,
we'll be getting players who are 24, 25, 27. Dybala's like entering his prime. If that happened. And and with Conte, it's like dare to dream. Like it's possible. We've talked about this earlier. We never thought we'd get Conte. We never thought we'd get Romero. I certainly didn't. And yet here we are.
I never thought we'd see Ben Davies in a Spurs shirt again either. So strange things do happen.
Harry Winks as well.
Let's just leave the Winks thing alone. Did I read right? Sissoko, by the way, is captain for Watford now. Someone told me the other day. He's got the armband at Watford. I tell you, dressing room leader.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love the guy.
And I'm just happy it's not Spurs' dressing room anymore.
Look, we've been going an hour and 40 minutes, give or take, so we're going to wrap there, I think. I just want to thank you all for a great show. Shan, thanks very much. And you're back with the Shan Show on Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know what we're talking about yet, but I'll pluck something out. It'll be good as always.
I love the preparation that goes into your show. So
it'll be build up to England against Albania, won't it? The match that we're all talking about.
You do a watch along.
Oh God, no! Please.
Is it in Albania or is it in England?
I think it's at home, and then the San Marino game's away, isn't it? I think.
Because I was thinking if it's in Albania, that's the Conference League final, same stadium. Chance for Kane to get some practice in, but obviously that doesn't work now.
He doesn't turn up in finals anyway.
I'll probably spend an hour building up to, like, saying how it's possible we can get Kylian Mbappe for free in the summer. To be fair, in the summer we did have Ronaldo and Messi on a cover. So
we did anything we could do to get those two on a cover. We did. HG, thanks for joining me all the way from Vienna.
You're welcome.
John from the South Coast. Thanks.
Pleasure as always.
And Jamie, thanks for coming back on the show. I hope it's been a pleasure for you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always fun to chat. Thanks for having me.
And let's just clarify, Harry Winks' career is over.
The Winks naissance is starting. Believe.
Please do. Believe, that's my line. Don't nick my line. There's 205 people still watching. Please do like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, the Shan Show on Wednesday. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. And Holland. Hooray.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Jamie. Give it a big.
Come on, you Spurs.
There we go.